I'm 57 now, and if you'd told me 5 years ago I'd end up screaming at my in-laws over a retirement home, I would have laughed straight in your face. My name's Sam, born and raised in South Milwaukee. My old man took off when I was 7. My mom worked double shifts at St. Luke's, barely made rent, so most of the time I was with my grandfather, Walter. He lived 2 streets down, but it felt like home. He was the quiet type, World War II veteran, wore his pants too high, smelled like motor oil and peppermints. But the man had presence. If Walter said jump, you jumped, then asked why. That garage of his was my real school. I learned how to change brake pads before I could parallel park. Welding, plumbing, old school problem solving. He passed all of it down without ever raising his voice. Every Saturday, same ritual. Peanut butter toast, cribbage, and one of his go-to sayings. The one that stuck with me most? Don't be scared to stand alone if it's for the right thing. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I was 33 when I met Lindsay, already had a mortgage, a failed engagement, and a dog with joint problems. I wasn't looking for fireworks, just someone who didn't make life harder. She was sharp, calm, worked in finance, could sniff out a lie before you even told it. What got me was how she treated Walter. She didn't just humor his stories, she asked questions. Brought him peach cobbler on Sundays, held his hand during chemo checkups. That mattered more to me than anything. We were together 3 years when we decided to get married. Oakview Estate, just outside Madison. Big barn-style venue, string lights, fire pits. Too expensive, but whatever, first and only wedding. Then Walter fell, broke his hip, didn't bounce back. Rehab dragged into assisted living. Then came the confusion. He started calling me by my dad's name. Forgot what day it was. Some weeks he didn't know me at all, but one Saturday, sitting outside with a blanket on his lap, he squeezed my hand and said, "I hope I make it to your big day, son." That night, Lindsay made spaghetti. We sat across from each other like always. She put down her fork and said, "We bring the wedding to him." At first I laughed. "You want to get married in a nursing home?" But she just looked at me, no smile. "He won't make it to Oakview. We do it here, or not at all." I agreed, no hesitation. What I didn't know then, that one choice would blow a hole in her family and drag us both into a war neither of us saw coming. We told them over dinner at their place in Mequon, nice house, white cabinets, granite everything, not a single thing out of place. Lindsay brought a bottle of Merlot. I brought nerves. Barbara served salmon, sat down across from me, and said, "So, you're both glowing. Must be wedding stuff." Lindsay smiled. "Actually, we have a bit of a change." I watched her tuck her hair behind her ear, calm as ever. "We're moving the ceremony to Willow Pines." Walter's health took a turn, and this way he can still be part of it. Barbara blinked. Once. Then, a retirement home? Seriously? Dale didn't even look at me, just stared out the window and swirled his scotch. "We already put $5,000 down at Oakview," he said. "This isn't just your wedding." Lindsay kept her voice steady. "We're working with the staff. They've been amazing. Jess, our planner, is transforming the whole room. You won't even recognize it. And Walter, he's family. He raised Sam. He means the world to both of us." Barbara leaned back, arms folded like she was bracing for a storm. I bit my tongue, hard. But when she looked right at me and said, "This isn't a love story, Sam. It's a pity party," something snapped. I dropped my fork. "You done?" She blinked again. "Excuse me? You heard me. You think this wedding is about tablecloths and Instagram filters? It's about showing up. Walter showed up for me. He deserves this Dale cut-in, voice cold. No man wants his wedding in a facility for dying people." "Then I guess I'm not your kind of man." We left before dessert. Lindsay grabbed my hand in the driveway, but her eyes were glassy. We didn't talk on the drive home. She just stared out the window, silent. I kept thinking, what kind of people are these? Next morning, her brother Marcus texted me. "This your idea or hers?" Because people are already talking, I didn't answer. Barbara called 3 times that week. Left voicemails. Why not postpone a few months? Lindsay tried to find middle ground. She offered 2 ceremonies, small one for Walter, big one later. I didn't like it. Felt like they were trying to buy time till he was gone. I didn't say it out loud, but she knew. Then the group chat happened. Her cousins, aunts, some lady named Denise who I found out was Dale's business partner's wife, all chiming in like it was some kind of family PR crisis. Such a shame. Lindsay always had such good taste. Sounds like a sympathy stunt. I didn't reply, just stared at the screen while my stomach twisted. Every message was a slap to the face. They weren't just rude, they were cruel, like we were embarrassing them. The last straw? Barbara called Lindsay and said, "If you go through with this, we're not sitting in the front row. Don't expect pictures with us either." That night, Lindsay sat on the edge of the bed, bare feet on the floor, shoulders hunched. "Are we making a mistake?" she asked. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Not a chance." She nodded just once, then crawled into bed, turned away from me. I sat there a long time staring at the wall. I wasn't just marrying her. I was walking into a family that treated love like it had an expiration date, but I wasn't backing down. If Walter could fight in a war, I could fight for this. Jess showed up the next day with a giant binder and no hesitation. She sat down at our kitchen table, opened to a blank page and said, "All right, tell me everything." I looked at Lindsay, then back at Jess. "You ever done a wedding in a nursing home?" She grinned. "Nope. But I've done one in a bowling alley, a barn with no roof, and once, God help me, a county jail. Willow Pines will be a walk in the park." I couldn't believe it. I'd braced for pity, maybe even doubt. Instead, she pulled out fabric swatches and lighting plans like we were setting up a celebrity gala. "We'll hide the walls. Create a tunnel entrance with drapes, overhead cafe lights, soft seating in the corners. Think cozy lodge, not clinical." She wasn't just in, she was fired up. We met with the staff at Willow Pines that same week. I expected pushback, but they jumped in like it was a holiday event. CNAs offered to rearrange shifts. Activities director volunteered the sound system. Even the kitchen staff wanted in. It was like giving the place a reason to breathe. Mr. Leonard, a retired electrician with shaky hands and thick glasses, helped string lights from the ceiling beams. Took twice as long, but the man smiled the whole time. Miss Arlene, who used to own a bakery in Racine, told Jess she'd bake cookies for every guest. "The real kind," she said. "None of that gluten-free nonsense." Walter had a few rough days during the setup. One afternoon, I found him in the hallway trying to open a closet with his room key. But when I told him about the wedding plans, he grinned. "Hell of a thing," he said. "Make sure the beer's cold." We kept going. I built the arch myself. Spent every spare hour in the garage, cutting, sanding, staining. My palms were raw by the end of it, but it stood solid. Walter came out one afternoon to hand me screws and steady the beam while I drilled. Didn't say much, just watched with those same steel blue eyes that taught me how to hold a wrench. Then the noise from Barbara got louder. She told her sister we were hiding our wedding because we couldn't afford the real one. But the real gut punch came from a screenshot her sister sent Lindsay, Barbara's Facebook post. "Sometimes you raise them right, but they fall for the wrong kind of man." I showed it to Lindsay. Her face didn't move at first. She just stared. Then she handed the phone back and said, "Let them rot in their pearls." That's when I knew she wasn't breaking. Jess hauled in chairs from a rental place in Waukesha. Dark wood, padded cushions. She hung soft white curtains over every wall. Put a little heater by the entrance to knock the chill off that concrete floor. The whole place started to change. It didn't feel like a facility anymore. It felt like a memory in progress. A few days before the wedding, I was hauling in the last of the centerpieces when Tom, Walter's nurse, pulled me aside. "Just wanted to say," he said, "most guys don't show up like this anymore." I gave him a tired smile. He looked me dead in the eye. "He talks about you every day. Won't shut up." Says you turned out better than he ever hoped I didn't say anything. Just nodded and went back to work. Didn't want to cry in front of a guy holding a mop. By then, Barbara had gone radio silent. No RSVP, no calls. Just whispers through the family grapevine about how classless we were being. But I didn't care. Every light we hung, every chair we set out, every cookie Arlene boxed up, I could feel the room shifting from some sad compromise into something real. We weren't throwing scraps together. We were building something that mattered. The morning of the wedding, I got to Willow Pines before sunrise. The place was quiet, halls still dim. I walked into the community room and just stopped. It didn't look like a nursing home anymore. It looked like somewhere people wanted to be. Warm cafe lights crisscrossed the ceiling. Soft white curtains covered the pale yellow walls. The chairs were lined up in perfect rows around a clear dance floor, each one with a folded program and a cookie from Ms. Arlene tied in twine. The arch I built stood in the center like it had always belonged there. Walter was the first one wheeled in. Full suit, shaved, hair combed back. The tie I gave him on my 18th birthday tight around his neck. He looked sharp, not healthy, but proud. "You clean up nice, old man," I said. He squinted at me. "You better not cry during the vows." "I'll have Tom wheel me out," I smiled. "Deal." The staff brought out juice, tea, and a bowl of mints. Residents started trickling in, some walking, some with walkers, some being pushed in wheelchairs. But all of them dressed like it was Sunday church in the 60s. Jess had made little paper corsages for each one. They wore them like medals. Lindsay's family showed up 10 minutes before start time. Dale in a stiff black jacket, Barbara in beige like she was headed to a wake. They nodded at Jess, ignored me, didn't even glance at Walter, chose seats in the back like they were trying to make a point without saying a word. Fine. Message received. The room filled up fast. Nurses peeked in from the hall. Some staff stood in the back, holding disposable cameras and cups of ginger ale. Then Jess whispered, "She's ready." I stood up front and waited, and then Lindsay walked in. Simple white dress, no train, no veil, hair down, no glitter, no lace, just grace. She looked like someone who'd stopped caring about how it looked and started caring about who it was for. She walked in slow, eyes locked on mine, and that was it. I didn't hear the piano, didn't see anyone else, just her. We stood under the arch, said our vows, hers shaky but steady, mine short and direct. Walter sat in the front row, hands folded, eyes shining. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," I swear I saw him wipe a tear. Then he looked away fast like I hadn't noticed. The room clapped like we just won state. One of the residents yelled, "You go, girl!" and everyone laughed. Jess had tears in her eyes. Reception kicked off right after, buffet style in the dining area. Chicken breasts, roasted potatoes, green beans. The Willow Pines kitchen had worked with our caterer, and the food was way better than it had any right to be. Barbara and Dale stayed exactly 22 minutes. No toast, no dance, no smiles. Dale looked at his watch 3 times before they left. They walked out the side door without saying goodbye. Good. We danced with Walter. Me and Lindsay just circled him while he sat in his chair, grinning like he was 20 again. Jess snapped a picture of us mid-spin. Me in my shirt sleeves, Lindsay laughing, Walter in the middle like a damn king. I didn't know that photo would matter later. Right then, it just felt like proof that the moment was real. Mr. Leonard DJ'd off an old laptop. Miss Arlene passed out extra cookies. People who hadn't stood for more than 10 minutes all week were on their feet clapping along to old doo-wop. One guy tried to moonwalk, failed miserably. We all cheered anyway. Around 7, the residents started fading. Nurses wheeled them back one by one. Tom came up while we packed up chairs. "This place hasn't felt this alive in years," he said. I looked around. The lights. The scraps of confetti. The empty plates and crooked chairs. It didn't look fancy, but it looked lived in. Honest. That night, back at the hotel, Lindsay fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. dress tossed over a chair, makeup wiped off. She didn't even pull the sheets up. I couldn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at that photo Jess had airdropped to my phone. Us and Walter, smiling like the whole damn world had finally gotten something right. I didn't care what Barbara said. I didn't care who whispered or judged or called it small. The next morning, Jess posted the photo. No tags, no names, just the three of us dancing. Me, Lindsay, and Walter under those cafe lights, her head thrown back in a laugh, him grinning in that stiff old suit like he'd won the lottery. Caption read, "Love wins when you show up for who matters." By lunch, it had 5,000 likes. By dinner, it was pushing 50. By the next day, 75,000 and counting. People in the comments were losing it. This is what weddings should be. Faith in humanity restored. My dad's in hospice. This hit me hard. It should have been the end of the story, but the internet doesn't work like that. 2 days in, Lindsay's cousin Stephanie decided to light a match. This was staged. Poor taste. Desperate for attention, Barbara followed up right underneath. All sugar and knives. Beautiful photo. Sad circumstances. That was it. Screenshots started flying. Strangers tore into them, called them out for being heartless, snobby, tone-deaf. A woman from Oregon wrote, "If your biggest problem is your daughter's wedding made you uncomfortable, congratulations on your perfect life." Barbara called Lindsay at midnight, voice tight, trying to sound calm. "You need to tell your planner to take the post down." This is humiliating. Lindsay sat up in bed, hair messy, eyes tired. "No." Barbara didn't expect that. "Excuse me?" I said, "No, Mom. It's staying up. She's exploiting a vulnerable man for likes. He's my family and my wedding." "Go back to your bridge club." Barbara hung up. Next morning, Dale called me directly. That fake polite tone he uses when he wants something. "Sam, I know you think this is all harmless, but you're dragging our name through the mud." "Our name?" I didn't sugarcoat it. "I married your daughter, Dale, not your image." He tried to guilt me, said I was stirring drama for attention. I told him I hadn't posted a single thing. Then he threatened legal action. "We'll sue Jess if we have to," I told Jess. She laughed. "It's public content," she said, "and your family signed the damn waiver." Meanwhile, Walter was having the time of his life. The nurses told us he carried around the magazine. Yeah, a full glossy feature. Some lifestyle outlet picked up the story and ran it with the headline, "Love in a Retirement Home." Walter showed every single person who passed his room. "That's my boy," he'd say, "and that's his gal." Hell of a party. Lindsay's job reached out, but not with concern. Her boss emailed her directly. Said it was the most human thing they'd ever seen from someone in finance. "Made the whole firm look good," she said. Barbara and Dale went quiet after that. No more calls, no more threats. Stephanie blocked Lindsay on everything. Guess she didn't like being the villain in a feel-good story. But the strangers, they came in droves, emails, messages. A couple in Nebraska asked how we pulled it off inside a facility. A woman in Philly said she hadn't spoken to her dad in 10 years, but was booking a flight because of our photo. The one that hit me hardest was a guy in Texas. Said his father was terminal. "Saw your story. Moving our wedding to the hospital next week. Thanks for showing us it's possible." That's when it clicked. This wedding wasn't just ours anymore. It wasn't about lighting or food or who sat in the back. It wasn't about making Barbara proud or Dale comfortable. It was about giving a damn, about showing up for the people who made us. For Walter, it gave him stories again. A reason to sit a little taller, something new to tell every nurse who walked into his room. For me, it was the first time I didn't feel like I had to explain myself to anyone. I wasn't chasing approval. I wasn't biting my tongue. I did the right thing. And for once, I didn't apologize for it. 6 months later, the call came at 6 a.m. I knew before I picked up. The nurse didn't drag it out. "I'm sorry, Sam." Walter passed in his sleep around 5:40. Peaceful, no pain. I didn't say much, just grabbed my keys and drove. The halls at Willow Pines were still dark when I walked in. His room smelled like hand lotion and old books. He was laid back in bed like he'd just nodded off. Sheets pulled up, arms outside, hands resting one over the other. I sat beside him for almost an hour, didn't cry, just looked at his hands, those same hands that taught me how to fix things, how to hold my ground. Rough hands, steady hands, now still. At the service, the Willow Pine staff showed up in uniform. Jess came too, dressed in navy, holding a white flower. Half the residents came, some with walkers, some with nurses. They sat in the front rows like family. Barbara didn't show. Dale sent a card. Lindsay and I stood together at the podium. She told stories, how he used to retell his war memories like it was the first time, how he'd light up when she brought him the peach cobbler. She had the whole room smiling. I talked about his garage, cribbage, Saturday mornings. I told him what he always told me. Don't be scared to stand alone if it's for the right thing. Right next to the casket stood the photo, big and bold in a wooden frame, the three of us smiling under the arch I built. A moment we got right. A veterans group did the flag ceremony. I stood stiff while they folded it tight. When they handed it to me, that's when I broke. Couldn't hold it back anymore. Afterward, we didn't do anything big. Just went home. A few close friends came over. We cracked beers, ate peanut butter pretzels out of a mixing bowl, quiet, simple, honest, just like him. Lindsay sat next to me on the couch, hand on my leg. You gave him the ending he deserved. I nodded, swallowed hard. He gave me the start I needed. A week later, the director at Willow Pines called. They'd made a plaque. Hung it right in the community room above the archway we got married under, in honor of Walter James, who taught us how to show up. We drove out to see it, just the two of us. No fanfare, no pictures, just stood there and read the words out loud. Felt like closure. On the way home, Lindsay reached across the console and grabbed my hand. You're more like him than you realize. I didn't say anything, just squeezed her hand back and kept driving. Sometimes people still message us, strangers who saw the story, the photo, the video clip. They ask for advice, ask how we made it all work. I tell them the same thing every time. Don't worry about how it looks. Worry about who it's for.